Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham, where Team Needham discusses everything healthcare. I'm your host, Shawn Needham, along with my wonderful wife, Janet, and we are streaming live from Prescott, Arizona, one of our favorite little towns. Not so little anymore. It's got one of my, if not my favorite bike race, the Whiskey Off-Road. It's a huge race, a couple thousand people coming up this Saturday, and I'm super excited for it. And we're making it into a business trip too, because Moses Lake Professional Pharmacy is getting licensed in Arizona, and we will start shipping prescriptions there soon. So we're making some contacts down here while we're down here. But today we have got Trevor Love on our show today. And if you remember him, he's been on our podcast. He's been in some short videos. He's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to supplements. He's works for Orthomolecular, and we're just super excited to have him as a friend and a colleague to educate us on all kinds of subjects. And today it's going to be on Bitcoin. And I will tell you, Janet and I know very little about Bitcoin. We don't understand it. And Trevor is going to help us understand that. So Trevor, welcome to our show.
Hey, Shawn. Hey, Janet. Thanks for having me.
So first of all, I want to talk about your clothing, because usually you're all dressed up in a tie and nice collared shirt. So your clothing is intentional.
Yes. Yeah. So I took off the Orthomolecular professional suit today because we're going to be discussing a topic that's a little bit outside the box. So we have the Satoshi Nakamoto sweatshirt on right now, which is the anonymous founder of the Bitcoin protocol. And then we have
so anonymous now, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we don't, to this day, no one knows
really?
if it's a group, if it's a person, if it's a made up alias. They just know a name because it was posted online. It was an open forum, but never been tracked down, never proven who it is. Wow. And then I got the HODL hat, which stands for Hold On for Dear Life. So as new technology emerges, as you know, it's always a wild ride.
Yeah. Now, one thing, as Janet and I started our podcast over 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago, we wanted to make sure that our topics were health related. So that's one of the things we talk about. We say everything healthcare. We talk about everything healthcare. So before we get into the details of Bitcoin, how does Bitcoin relate to healthcare?
Yeah, great question. And this is important because, look, here's the reality, right? If you're watching this podcast and you just heard it was about Bitcoin, 80% of people either checked out, think I'm crazy, or have no idea what we're about to talk about. So I just want to start with this. Just have an open mind. So let's just have an open mind on this topic before we jump to maybe what the mainstream media has given us 5 headlines in 10 years. That's all we know about it, right? So let's have an open mind and have a formal discussion, because whether we know it or not, the United States of America passed an executive order to establish a Bitcoin reserve in America. The largest bank in the world, BlackRock, launched the ETF to start accumulating Bitcoin. So you have the largest bank in the world, the largest economy of the world, and they're both accumulating Bitcoin. And we're still arriving at the conclusion. Many people, right, probably watching right now, are saying, this guy's crazy. This concept is crazy. I'm never going to do it. So let's just start there. The largest and smartest monies and governments, et cetera, are evaluating this topic. So let's bring it all the way back to medicine and maybe just have an open mind on, hey, maybe there's something to this. It has a lot of staying power and the price has gone up forever. So medicine, functional medicine, as you guys know, many people say the challenge is sometimes it's for the very rich or the very sick. And that is hard, right? It's hard to grow organic food. It's hard to buy organic food. It's hard to pay for the gym membership and the chiropractic and the IVs and the hormones to live that optimal lifestyle, right? So how does Bitcoin relate to all this? Well, Bitcoin relates to it in 2 ways, or 2 ways of emphasis. Financial freedom allows you. So I always say faith, family, freedom. Those are my values in life: faith, family, and freedom. And Bitcoin is in the freedom category. Financial freedom allows you to pursue the health that in many ways is best for you, but in many ways is expensive for you, right? On the second side, as we know from what happened just 4 years ago, not only can governments censor you, but medicine in general has been done and by majority the same way since this country was founded. And so what this allows you to look at is how does a Canadian trucker who has an opinion about the government, or how does a naturopath who has an opinion on how to treat a certain way treat if they're shut off from the financial system?
Right.
You can't Venmo them because there's a central company that's called PayPal. You can't PayPal them because that's also a central company. You can't use Facebook because that was a company that came down aggressively in censorship. You can't use your bank because we've almost nationalized our banks, where they're so tied with the Federal Reserve and our government that they're going to follow the rules, because of course they don't want to be broken off from the teat of a capital. So ultimately, my question to the audience is, how do you move money without a central entity? Tell me one way you can move money to Japan, Russia, then to Canada, then to Boise, then to Arizona, right now, instantaneously, with someone not in the middle stamping that approval of the transaction. And it's all fun and games until it's not, right? Oh, you're never going to need that, right? And then COVID, right? And so to long-winded answer to your question, financial freedom allows you to pursue the best things for your body. But when you're running a business or a medical world that isn't always cookie cutter exactly the way that I've been told to practice medicine, sometimes having insurance and ability to transact outside the system is a really good way to prepare for situations that you may need it.
So for those of us that are ignorant and have never used Bitcoin, I'm speaking for ourselves, how does it work? I mean, do you have an app on your phone that you can pay somebody with Bitcoin? And that's one question. And a longer question answer is going to be, you're talking about the federal government starting to accrue Bitcoin and BlackRock. Well, does that mean they can control it? So first of all, how do you accept and give payments with Bitcoin?
Yeah. So let's talk about Bitcoin and it's money. So let's talk about money. What is money? Well, typically money has been two things: a storage of value and a medium of exchange. So we looked at the United States of America. Originally, it was gold, right? We stored our value in gold, but in order to exchange gold, we didn't want to just give coins to everyone, right? We look even way thousands of years ago, right? Roman Empire, right? Gold coins. Eventually, we created a system where it's like, hey, let's just create a note that says, hey, I owe you that gold, and we'll store that with the banks. And that became the dollar, or all fiat currencies as we know it, right? Originally, we're based off some sort of storage of value, right? And so if I wanted to go to the pharmacy and I wanted to buy all these things, I'm not going to bring a brick of gold and start shaving off pieces of gold, right? So money is technology. We figured out how to improve the tech. So if we break that down, it's gold is layer one, and then a note that says Trevor owes you some gold was layer two, and that's the fiat. And then a credit card was layer three, right? And then like SoFi and Venmo and PayPal and all of our banking system and Zelle, layer four, right? We're just integrating technologies, right, to improve it. And the fascinating part is that every single money in the history of mankind, dating back to the early settlers in all countries using salt and rock and stones and precious metals and jewels, each money has evolved for one reason: it improved on the previous form. That's it, right? So tell me that we're not in a phase, right, where how many people are using cash constantly, right? So you can see obvious improvement on the previous form. So Bitcoin, we answer the question, what is it, right? Well, it's an easy way to say it is a digital gold. Well, what is gold? What properties does gold have? Why was it a good money? Well, it was scarce. You could take money and you can break everything down by how transferable it is, how fungible it is, how scarce it is. And the point is that gold is just really hard to find. It has about a 1.3% inflation rate. We dig up. And so the harder it is to find, the more valuable and scarce it became. So we decided to base a lot of things on that precious metal. Well, Bitcoin has 21 million fixed in the code forever. You cannot change the supply. So that's very important for people that are listening. Name me an asset, a money, anything in the world with a fixed supply, not a finite supply, a fixed supply. Zero. I can build more real estate. I can go up. If we land on a different planet, there goes your whole land and dirt concept. I can build more houses. I can make them smaller. I can dig more gold, dig more silver, dig more anything, diamonds. I can do lab diamonds. I can print more money, aka the central government and the Fed. Name me an asset you can't make more of. There is none. I'll name you one. Bitcoin. That's it. You cannot.
Now, I will just to correct you, being the chemistry background that I have, minus alchemy, because you can make gold through alchemy, but it doesn't pencil out. There is a fixed amount of gold, just like there's a fixed amount of water, just like there's a fixed amount, and it goes through a cycle. It goes somewhere and comes back. So there's still a fixed amount of gold.
So
and I think that's why the gold standard, or any kind of metal standard, whether it be copper, whether it be nickel, or whether it be silver, I think that's why it's important to have some kind of standard for the IOU fiat currency you're talking about, because then there won't be crazy out of control inflation.
Right.
If there's a fixed amount of something that you're making that relative to.
And let me ask you this. Maybe you're right. In the universe, there's a fixed amount of gold. But in order for us to say that we cannot find it, we would not explore planets whatsoever, right? So I see articles all the time about asteroids that are loaded with gold, right?
Yeah.
And so I know I'm talking about future planetary, travel, but my point is there may be a fixed amount of gold in the universe, but we are only less than 1% of the universe. So what happens when we keep expanding and finding more of these metals, right? So technically, there's a lot of it out there, is what I'm saying.
Correct.
And as the price goes up, we will mine more of it, right? That's just supply and demand. So what I'm saying is Bitcoin is a storage of value and a medium of exchange, right? That's what money is supposed to do. So you have to understand, this is like the critical component of what is Bitcoin. Crypto or cryptography is a ledger, right? So it is a account number on a accounting ledger of just line items. Boom, 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 boom. A transferred to B, right? C transferred to D. If you go to an accounting firm, you see a ledger. So cryptography and the initial development of Bitcoin was a peer-to-peer. You could Google this. You just type in Bitcoin white paper. It was publicly posted and open sourced. A peer-to-peer electronic cash system. So instead of me speculating, hey, it's like gold, it's a digital gold, it's a storage of value, it's money. Let's just say it what it is. Satoshi Nakamoto wrote the white paper with the code and said it's a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, meaning you can send money to me electronically with no one in the middle.
And does anybody understand how that works in between? Does our federal government understand? Can they chop that off?
Yeah, great question. So two things. One thing I would say is for most people, it's like, hey, does anybody understand how Venmo works? Does anybody understand how your email works? Does anyone understand how www or HTTP, so no.
Here's another one. To expand on that, my son, my youngest son, who knows a lot about social media algorithms and all kinds of digital stuff on the internet. He says that when the Facebook algorithm code was originally made, though a lot of those engineers aren't around anymore. And the new engineers that come in, they have no idea how the algorithm really works.
Yeah.
And I believe him. I can see how that could happen.
Yeah. So the uniqueness of Bitcoin as compared to centralized code. So that's really important. It is code. So let's just be clear what we're talking about. We're talking about software engineers creating code, right? So Satoshi Nakamoto was not like, it didn't just pop up out of nowhere. We're talking about 30 years of this group of cypherpunks. They call them the cypherpunks. They were software engineers that were trying to solve money outside the system. And there's several products out there that they created. DigiCash, eGold, guys like Hal Finney, Jack Dorsey, who started Twitter, was originally a cypherpunk type mindset. These are libertarians that wanted to figure out how to solve the money problem. They created, why do we think Bitcoin was created in 2009? What happened in 2008?
Crash.
Right? Yeah. And the first block of Bitcoin, you know what it says? UK Chancellor approved second bailout. They permanently stamped it into the first block ever mined of Bitcoin. UK Chancellor on the brink of a second bailout of the banks, right? Take a wild guess on who created Bitcoin, right? I don't know the name, but I know how they think, right? And so back to our question of like, what is it? It's code. It is software code that allows you with a technological node. So a node is a physical device plugged into a computer. The node is the central entity that approves a transaction from Shawn and Janet to me, not a company, not a government, no political influence. And that node is, there's thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions all across the world, hence the decentralization concept, right? So it's using technology to transfer value instantaneously. So on one end, it solves the peer-to-peer, right? The medium of exchange. On the other end, it solves the storage of value. And that's why it's so hard for people to understand, right? This is because what is Bitcoin? Well, it's two things. It's a network to send money, but it's also a perfect store of value because the supply will never change. And so some people would say, there's no value, right? How many times have we heard this? There's no intrinsic value. There's no physical value. I can hold gold. And I say, well, go talk to every bank you know and ask them the value of transferring money instantaneously for a penny. We can't even wire transfer the same day, and it's 2025 without paying money. Imagine trying to send money, send $3 billion to China tomorrow. Good luck, right? You can do it on the Bitcoin network. It's happening every single day. So people who say there's no intrinsic value clearly don't understand fintech.
They don't understand fiat money either, because what is the intrinsic value of this?
Exactly.
It's literally worth the paper it's printed on, and that's it. That's the intrinsic value. But it has value because I know it has value. You know it has value. She knows it's worth something. So it doesn't really matter as long as everybody thinks knows it has value. So I can see where you're coming from with the Bitcoin. I'm learning. What about the mining? So they're still mining Bitcoin, but there's a finite amount to mine. 21 billion, you said, or something?
21 million is a fixed supply. Yeah.
But we're not there yet.
No. So in order for the software engineers to have a scalable model, you have to have proof of work, which is mining machines working, just like mining gold. Tractors, excavators, you have machines working to mine Bitcoin. Over time, the supply that's given to the miners goes down. It halves every 4 years forever. So it's tightening and tightening and tightening and tightening. So to date, we're somewhere around 90 to 91%, I believe. Don't quote me on that. If you Google it pretty quickly, of all of the supply of Bitcoin has been mined. They call this era, this decade is the gold rush. It's the Bitcoin rush, because by the end of this decade, we'll be at 99% mined. So meaning we have 1% left forever. The miners can duke it out to mine that Bitcoin forever. So every time you plug in a miner, let's say I buy a miner, you guys buy a miner each, all three of us have a miner, we plug it into the wall. The difficulty to mine goes up based on technology, right? Based on the algorithm. So, and that's defined as this hash rate or difficulty rate. All that means is every time someone plugs in a miner, I have miners, anyone can do it. You can plug in a miner, it just uses electricity, converts it to Bitcoin. It gets harder and harder because right now there's 3.125 Bitcoin available per block, no matter if you have 1 billion miners plugged in or 100. So they're all sharing a piece, right? So imagine there was only 100 bars of gold in the world left, and you have 100 tractors, and someone says, well, why don't I put 1,000 tractors out there? Well, there's only 100 bars left. So you guys are going to split that evenly, right? And so it gets more secure the more miners you plug in. So when you hear this, people say decentralized, decentralized, decentralized. That's what they're saying. There's physical machines all around the world. So someone says, oh, the Chinese government's just going to kill it. Well, where do you think the miners are going to go? They're going to go right across the border. Oh, Nigeria is not happy. Okay, well, this is going to go to the next country across the border. Oh, America. This is called the game theory. This is why Trump is genius, political or not. This is why he's genius, is because he knows you can't stop it. The Biden administration tried to stop it. but you cannot stop a decentralized asset. You can slow it down. So you better embrace it before somebody else does, because then it becomes a political game. And the game theory is, I don't have to like it. I better hurry up and be first, because I'll be rewarded to be first. Because if I'm not first, someone else will be first. And they have a lot more to gain on being first to take out America. So it's genius by him to embrace it. Whether you like it or not, you kind of have to embrace it because everyone else is.
Well, and we do know just from history of thousands and thousands of years that you can't stop a free market. Governments have tried, and that's probably what bothers some governments about Bitcoin is they can't stop it. Jen, you had a question?
I do. So as a consumer, I'm thinking, Mom, going to the grocery store, you just use your app, or are stores just going to accept that app for a form of payment?
Yeah.
And is everybody on board with that? Because, that would be, it's kind of like during COVID, all of a sudden people just, oh, we only accept credit cards or debit cards, not cash, right? And that was just like, what? It should be any form, right? But you do see that, like, even parking garages, you had to use some form of digital payment. So how does that relate to the consumer when we're out consuming, products and grabbing products off the shelf?
Great question. Someone sent me a video from I think early 2000s or maybe late 90s of people using credit cards at Burger King, and they were interviewing everyone, and they said, what do you think about this credit card thing? And the guys are looking at them, they're like, these are never going to catch on. And they're like, I could see maybe someone using this on a vacation, but they're like, no one's going to use these to buy a $5 Happy Meal or a burger at Burger King. And so I think here's what I'd say. Yes, you could do it right now. So there's pockets all around the world where you can just use apps on your phone and just pull up a QR code and pay for it, pay it in Bitcoin. But the better, like, long-term look at this is layers, right? So no one's bringing gold bars, right? People brought dollars, and then someone said, hey, what if we created a credit card? That's faster and you can pay on credit. Great. And then someone was like, hey, Square and PayPal and all these companies are fintechs. Let's get better than the credit card. Let's go after the banks. And then there's crypto now. So these layers are built on sound money or not on the fiat side. So what I would say is, early in technology, the S curve of adoption is, the first 10 years of any adoption, like the car versus a horse, electricity, the cell phone versus the landline, Netflix streaming versus VHS. It takes 10 years to get 10% adoption, but then the next 10, you get 90. So we're past 10 years on Bitcoin. So I would argue we're in the 90% adoption rate of. It is not crazy to think about that you'll be able to walk in with your cell phone. I mean, I went to the gas station the other day. There's a Bitcoin ATM just sitting right in front of me. Now, I didn't even notice it for years. It's just right there. So what is that? Well, I can put money in and it spits out a QR code with Bitcoin. And then I just scan it with my phone and it gives me my Bitcoin into my phone. So,
but you're buying it with money you already have, correct? Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm converting my fiat to Bitcoin.
Converting. Okay. All right.
But to answer your question, Janet, I don't think it'll be challenging whatsoever to scale these layers with, that Jack Dorsey founded Square, and he is a Bitcoin maximalist who changed the name of Square to Block meaning Bitcoin Block. He has one goal in life. He said he left Twitter to go to Block. Well, not to go to Block. He founded it and he's the CEO, but to focus on Block is to create a peer-to-peer cashless system on Bitcoin, right? So you have a lot of people dedicating all their life's work right now to developing the layers that are needed to go to the grocery store and go to the gas station. But here's the most important part, though. A lot of people don't want to part ways with their Bitcoin right now because every money starts off as value first. Like, no one wanted to find diamonds and then go buy coffee. No one found a gold nugget in the gold rush and was like, hey, I just want to go buy a burger. First is storage of value phase, right? So everyone's going to be hoarding it, right? The gold rush, the Bitcoin rush is the next 5 to 10 years, you will see hoarding it. But when the early Bitcoiners who adopted it 8 years ago and 10 years ago have so much, they're going to be using this as a humanitarian project. They're going to start spending it on purpose just to create a cash system, because they have so much Bitcoin that, unfortunately, the phrase in Bitcoin is you get the price you deserve. And what that means is, if you're open-minded and you're aware and you're paying attention, you're getting in. If you're not, you're going to eventually get in. Now, whether you get in because you care or your financial advisor eventually calls you and either tells you, hey, you're in the S&P 500, which actually now has 47 Bitcoin companies in it, so you're actually in, or, hey, I advise you to start buying Bitcoin ETFs, which a lot of people are doing, or frankly, you just listen to this podcast and you say, like, I remember the moment. I remember the moment when Shawn brought on this crazy guy who never talked about Bitcoin. He usually wore a suit. We talked about functional medicine, but he's highly convicted that this is the way of the future, because it's pure and honest, and it's a humanitarian libertarian movement, and it's also technology, and it's taking the best of technology and what I believe to be the best of freedom and combining them.
Well, it's raising so many more questions for me, but also answering a lot of questions. You're talking about technology and how it's went from, cash type money to a lot of digital transactions, whether it be Square, which I had no idea a guy that was in Twitter founded Square, not a surprise. But then it made me think about PayPal. Elon Musk is the one that really invented, or, got it mainstream, at least, PayPal. So these people know that there's a big change going on. And the properties of money, I remember learning in econ, not 101, but econ in high school. Money has to be, there's some certain properties it has to have. It has to be divisible. So tell me how Bitcoin is divisible. It's probably easily divisible, right? Because it's electronic.
Yeah, imagine like how non-divisible the dollar is. You have
right. Yeah, you can't rip it up into pieces.
Right. Right. Yeah, and we just stopped printing pennies, right? Because it costs more to print than 1 cent.
Right.
So, we have quarters and nickels and dimes and pennies. Well, in Bitcoin, you have Satoshis, or sats, they call them. So one Bitcoin can be divided up into endless zeros, right? And so that's also another misunderstanding that people have of, like, well, I can't afford one Bitcoin, so I'm not going to buy it. That's the biggest mistake you could ever make, right? That would be like saying the Dow Jones is at 39,000. I can't afford 39,000, so I'm never going to buy the stock market. What, like, why? Start with $1 and then just, let me kind of paint a picture. These are the 4 hurdles, or 3 to 4 hurdles every human being goes through in this, I've observed. Number 1, first hurdle. This is a magic internet money. It's a scam. Didn't FTX go bankrupt? I've heard this from the mainstream news. Isn't this a Ponzi scheme? All these things, right? So you have to get over that hurdle first. 1, FTX went bankrupt because he was a fraud, right? The mainstream media is not a good source of financial information. The price has gone up 1,000. I texted my own dad this morning. I said, Dad, hey, remember 5 years ago when I told you about Bitcoin and start buying it? It's up 1,100%, just so you know. In case you want to buy some when it's down next. Like 11, I'm not exaggerating, 1,100% on the 5-year chart. On the 5-year. It's been around for 16 years now. That's a 5-year. So where was I? Hurdle number 1. This is a crazy, I don't understand it. Isn't this like I'm going to lose all my money, except for it's gone up 1,100% in 5 years. Okay, hurdle number 2. I want to get started, so I don't know where to start. I don't want to buy a whole Bitcoin, so I guess I won't. Or how do I buy? Or I'm only going to buy a small position, because my financial advisor has always told me to be diversified, right? So 5% max. Okay, sounds good. Hurdle number 3 is ultimately how do I word this? You buy investments to make more fiat. I buy Bitcoin to have less fiat. We are not the same. I'm going to say that again. 99% of Americans, because we're in a society that prints money, have been trained to think I buy investments to just make more dollars. That's what I do. That's how I get ahead. And that's the civilization issue, because we print. If we didn't print so much, we wouldn't have to store our wealth in the Dow, and we wouldn't have to store our wealth in homes. We would just have a healthy society where you maintain your purchasing power with your savings account, right? But because we print so much, you have to invest, and you're always thinking, how do I invest just to make more dollars, right? Not a Bitcoin mentality, because Bitcoin is money. So the third hurdle is you buy in crypto or investments or real estate to make more dollars. I buy Bitcoin to have less dollars forever, and I'm never going to sell. And no one is going to sell who understands Bitcoin. And so ultimately someone would say, well, how do you never sell? It's money. I can already use it right now. Someone's going to want to borrow it from me, and they're going to pay me an interest rate someday to run a website that operates on a Bitcoin standard because they're transacting in Bitcoin. So what I'm saying is you shouldn't have to sell. Just like if gold was still a storage of value and a money, you wouldn't have to sell your gold. Roman times we use gold coins. So Bitcoin is going to become the medium of exchange. So accumulate as much as you possibly can. And then someday someone will want that, and you'll get to have the decision of, will I spend my Bitcoin because someone waives all the fees on this house? I don't have to use a mortgage. I don't have to use wire transfers, and it's just cleaner to use Bitcoin. Or I can loan it out, borrow against it, collateralize it, and maybe someone will pay me 5% just to use my Bitcoin to run an e-commerce website. So those are some hurdles to think about, but I see the progression all the time. You know, I think this is crazy. Okay, it's not crazy. I should start buying. I bought a little bit. Okay, now maybe I am misunderstanding. It's not a stock. It has a ticker symbol, but it's not a stock. What is it? Well, it's code. It's like the internet. It's code. It's like email. It's code. It's like fintech. It's code. You're owning a portion of the network, and then you finally arrive at, oh, I'm just going to convert out of this dirty, worthless fiat dollar into Bitcoin forever.
Well, and so some other properties of money is portability, and Bitcoin is ultimately very, very, very portable.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I heard someone say today, you're not gonna load up $3 billion of gold and move it across the border.
No. Well, and another property of money is durability. Is it durable? You know, one of the things is that, you know, these paper dollars, they become useless after a while because they get in the wash and torn or ripped. That doesn't happen with Bitcoin.
Mm-mm. Imagine this, right? For the first time in the history of mankind, your country can burn to the ground and you can transfer $14 million in your head as an immigrant.
Right.
And that is not possible, right? I mean, people say, oh, gold. Well, hey, newsflash, everybody. The government took gold. It's not like it's never happened. The government took back the gold. So the government can do a lot of things. I'm not saying it's going to happen. What I'm saying is if you can't move it, if you want to hide it and smuggle it, put it in your head. That's probably the best way to move value across borders. And what I mean by that is, to date, the way you store Bitcoin in the most secure way possible is on a physical USB drive. It's called a cold wallet. And the only way into that wallet is a phrase, a 16-word seed phrase. And they're expanding the security to make these the most secure things in the world. And I do want to make abundantly clear is that wallet, that physical USB drive, if someone takes it, they can't get in without the phrase. So if I'm in Uzbekistan and I have $14 million of Bitcoin on a cold wallet USB and my house burns down, as long as I have my seed phrase, I can go buy another cold wallet and type it in, and all of my Bitcoin's still there.
Wow. Yeah. This is very, very interesting, Trevor. I got to tell you, one of these days in the not so distant future, I'm going to do my first Bitcoin transaction. But I guess that means I got to buy Bitcoin first, right?
Yeah. So
I can do that at an ATM if I find it.
You know, so very easy apps. So you may not know, Venmo lets you buy Bitcoin.
Oh,
PayPal
that's easy. So I have Venmo. Okay.
Yeah. But the best apps is Strike and River. They're both easily downloadable, just like Venmo. Type in Strike or River. They're Bitcoin companies. They're the leaders in the ability to accumulate Bitcoin. You can get paid in Bitcoin. An employee can type in their routing number and their checking number, give it to their employer, and then their employer can pay them. It automatically converts it to Bitcoin. You can go to the grocery store and say, I want to pay with Strike or River. So I would encourage you to get off the centralized fintechs into the Strike and River, but easiest. Yeah. If you already have PayPal and Venmo, years ago, they started allowing people just to buy Bitcoin. So it's there.
So what is the exchange rate? Is there an exchange rate? I guess there is. Dollar to
it's
Bitcoin.
a dollar to Bitcoin. So like currently, Bitcoin's trading at $93,000 as of this morning per Bitcoin. You will have like a small fee. So let's say you go on Venmo, put $20 into Bitcoin. Venmo versus PayPal versus Strike versus River will charge different fees for you to buy on the exchange. But Strike and River allow you to accumulate automatically with zero fees. So that's why a lot of people do it, is they just automate dollar cost average. Hey, throw in this amount every day forever, and there's no fees. You're just converting out of fiat to Bitcoin.
And that's one of the ways to invest in Bitcoin is just do that instead of going through a financial investor or whatever.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I had a good friend from JP Morgan tell me, Trev, something around 80% of so success in investing is 80% psychological and 20% the asset you choose. Someone, so I don't want to give names, but someone 5-year investment in Bitcoin, 1,100% gains, has found a way to lose money in 1,100%. I guarantee you, right? They're buying the top, they're selling the bottom, or just freaking out. So just click the button, everybody. Dollar cost average every day. The smaller unit of time, you can do it every hour, 10 cents an hour, forever. And what you'll see is the value of one money is appreciating and one is depreciating, and you'll just start to see that balance go up. And that ties back to the beginning, which is, how does Bitcoin affect medicine? Well, on 2 ways. Medical freedom comes when you're able to take responsibility for your body, and sometimes financial freedom. If you think about, I hate to go on a tangent, but the destruction in a lot of civilizations, almost all of them, can be traced back to the money printing, which destroys people's wealth, which destroys people's time, which destroys people's health, which destroys everything, because you're on the grind just trying to keep up. And on the other side, if you feel strongly about the research and the conviction of functional medicine or hormone medicine or cancer medicine or weight loss medicine, and you want to have the ability to do it the way you'd like, free of any type of pressure, then it would be wise to have some sort of an hedge against a situation where it's not crazy to think someone freezes your bank account. That's not a wild thing. That happens.
It's happened, right? Yeah. Wow. So, okay, for my own personal, well, maybe for a friend. So if I had Venmo, I could transfer some funds to it hourly into Bitcoin or daily or whatever. That's a way to invest in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Okay. But Strike and River is what you recommend.
Yeah. And I mean, this morning, the largest crypto exchange in America, Coinbase, announced partnership with PayPal. So it's all happening. They're all merging. They're all helping each other. All the fintechs see where crypto is taking finance. So almost every app, I mean, so here's the easiest ways. Let's look at it. If you have an investment account, like a traditional Fidelity, Charles Schwab, E-Trade, whatever it may be, you can buy the price of Bitcoin underneath the ticker symbol FBTC, which is the Fidelity Bitcoin ETF, or IBIT, which is the BlackRock ETF for Bitcoin. I want to be clear, the fastest growing ETFs in the history of mankind, IBIT and Fidelity, Bitcoin ETFs, right? That's crazy. That's compared to the Vanguard S&P 500. That's compared to gold, GLD. IBIT and FBTC are growing faster than everything. So if you have retirements or non-touchable money and you don't want to take it out and you don't want to buy Bitcoin in some crazy app, you can buy the ETFs, IBIT, FBTC. But on the flip side, if you want to buy the real asset, which is the smartest thing to do because you could use it someday, you can use step 1, the easy apps, PayPal and Venmo, or step 2, download the new apps, which would be River and Strike.
Wow. Trevor, as always, your wealth of knowledge, and we appreciate your wisdom and knowledge, definitely on a different subject than we've ever talked about before. Well, we did talk about it a few weeks ago and you sparked my interest. So hence why we are having this podcast. So, and I can definitely see it really relating to medical freedom. because there might be a time, there was a time, and there might be another time where we won't be able to transact with dollars because our bank account will be shut down.
Yeah.
And I do know that there are some medical providers now that are accepting Bitcoin as payment, and they have been for quite a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's smart. I mean, I think, faith, family, freedom. I would say this is an extremely important topic because a lot of people, when I talk to them about the challenges in society, whether it's money printing or government overreach or medicine, they go, "Oh, what are you going to do?" And I'm like, well, I love functional medicine. What you're going to do is educate and help people and improve their health. Financially, you're going to create a moat around it and protect it, right? And so no one can influence you. You have to do this vaccination. You have to wear this mask, right? And we all know it's not about the masks or the pharmaceuticals or the vaccinations. No. They have a role. What it's about is you as the practitioner get to choose when to do so. And so you're protecting your freedoms.
Right. That's exactly right. And speaking of freedom and speaking of medical freedom, we'll be seeing you next Saturday, Trevor, at our Medical Freedom Northwest conference.
Can't wait.
May 3rd, a Saturday. It's going to be a full day. You're going to be there. We got speakers. In fact, we have one speaker speaking on the 7 truths of health, and 3 of those truths are faith, family, and freedom. And she's going to be an amazing speaker. Oh, and the other one is food.
I love it. Yeah.
One of them. I mean, it's true, right?
That would be into the freedom category, freedom from the government, the grocery store.
Right. So we're excited for that. And tickets we've only got like 8 tickets left, I think. And that was a few days ago. So if anybody is interested in going to that, talking more to Trevor, because I'm sure Trevor will be talking more than just about orthomolecular products. He can talk about Bitcoin too now. So if you have questions for him, you can talk to him. So sign up. We'd love to see you there. It's filling up fast. The room blocks are already full. There's a VIP event where you can meet the speakers. Dr. Peter McCullough is going to be giving out 2 of his books. You can get his book signed at the VIP event and get a picture with him. That about covers it. Trevor, how do you want? In 1 or 2 sentences? How would you? What should be our next steps with Bitcoin?
There's a saying in Bitcoin: stay humble, stack sats. Sats are small units of Bitcoin. So the reality is, stay humble, stay hungry. People, you're gonna change your life forever. But this is not about investing. It's not about money. This is about a humanitarian and a social movement to help people take back kind of the control and freedom in their life, so that it relates right back to their health and their perspective. So stay humble, stack sats.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Trevor. You helped us realize our goal of this podcast, which is to educate and empower individuals to take charge of their own health. This is one way to do it. So thank you so much, Trevor.
Thank you, Shawn. Thank you, Janet.
You're welcome.
And thank you, listeners and viewers, for tuning into Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham. Tune into our regularly scheduled podcast Monday, 12:30 to 1:30 Pacific Standard Time. Thank you.